Hey, Happy New Year. Chinese New Year of the Meadow Ox. And I believe the way you are supposed to say it is, I'm looking it up now. There it is, Gung Hai Fa Choi. But uh, forgive me if I didn't say that particularly correctly. But it's a new moon in Aquarius because it's a lunar calendar. So what that basically means is that if you are a January Capricorn or an Aquarius, you almost always have to look. Well, the January Capricorns, you belong to the year before. And so what does the metal mean? Metal is sensitivity. Metal is the ability to uh, recognize our interconnectedness of things. It cuts, obviously, but I tend to connect metal to the air element, but it's a five element system. And when in tropical Western astrology, it's a four element system. So that fifth element brings in what I call a trans or beyond gender nature, because you can be a yang, which is masculine, uh, fire, which is also masculine, or you can have yang water. Waters tends to be feminine. And so there are different degrees. And so I love the subtlety and Chinese medicine and Chinese astrology. And so the metal ox year, oxen like to be yoked. So they're practical, grounded. Let's get things done and let's share the burden, so to speak, as well. They're domesticated animals. So the energy is going to definitely slow down for us to maybe get more done, but get more done uh, in its own sweet time. So it's important, you don't rush oxen. So let's not rush around this year. I am doing an overview of this next Thursday on the 18th, and with Center Spirit, Alex and Emily Jackson. So 6 o'clock is $30. You can send me or go to Facebook, Center Spirit, or you can send an email to me at quantracycherry@gmail.com. And there's no E in that, Tracy. Um, and you can come along from 6 to 7:30. But just a quick overview. I like to compare the Chinese animals because there are 12 of them, and then Jupiter goes around the solar system in approximately 12 years. So I like to see the Jupiter year, the year of expansion. I was doing a workshop this past summer, and I talked about Jupiter being like Oprah Winfrey, paying it forward. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. And uh, and so one of the participants in the chat started saying Ju-prah. So I've just kind of co-opted that and made it a part of my own. It just it gives you this sense that when you feel like you have a lot, or when you feel the sustainable abundance, you can pay it forward. You can give. And so the oxen, they give through service of love. And so this is a Jupiter year one for them because it is their year. And that indicates the beginning of new possibilities and new identity and new places to go visit once we're able to travel more freely. And then the rat being the year before, this would be your Jupiter 2 year. So this is a year where whatever you were working on, it looks like let's consolidate and put it together. And then the year after the oxen is the tiger, which would be in 2022. And that indicates that it's a 12 unfinished business year for the tiger. So there may be people coming back into your life or people from other existences or multiple dimensions that you sense a familiarity to. But it's a great year for spirituality. Spiritual, not necessarily religious, It's not a cop out. That's an actual, I think, an old soul mantra is that after you've been incarnated over and over again, your soul kind of gets a flavor of all different religions and how they all kind of come together, much like the river uh, meets the ocean. And then after the tiger, we get the dragon, excuse me, the rabbit. And so this is an 11 year for the rabbits. And so uh, rabbits are in a particular position to use their connoisseur like nature to get the best out of friendships and colleague and work relationships and being able to foresee the future. Won't tell you this, but rabbits won't tell you, but they have a little bit of extra dose of of a spidey sense, particularly as it relates to their own self-preservation. Then after the rabbit, we get the dragon. You know, we got a dragon in Kamala Harris, our vice president, Asian, black, and Aries moon. And that dragon just brings in, the combination of a lot of different animals, the Chimera. And when it's a 10-year, there is the authority, the status, the ability to say, hey, the buck stops with me. So you dragons are here to kind of take charge and act from integrity. And after the dragon, we get the snake. And we have a lot of pejorative or like using the word black listed, black lash, but all of those ways in which we make snakes out to be negative, but they're really a good combination of transgender because it's a phallic symbol, but then it's the Kundalini feminine energy too. So snakes have this kind of non-binary that goes with them, and this being a 9-year, because oxen and snake and what's that last one? 1969 roosters are all in the same affinity of the doers. You want something done, then you give it to one of those three animals, and so. Uh, that ability to be in your same affinity tends to, a rising tide lifts all boats. So snake people this year having a 9 Jupiter year, and Jupiter goes to the ninth sign of Sagittarius, act from humanitarian impulses. And if you're looking at the larger big picture and looking at what you aspire to, then you can get all the goodies that your little heart desires, you little slithering animal, you Harry Potter reference. And then after the snake, we go to the horse. Giddy fucking up. So, both four-legged animals. Difference is the horse likes to keep more pace. And since it's an 8-year for the horse, and horses and tigers and dogs are the humanitarians of the Chinese zodiac, it will be important for the horse to know when to cut their losses. Just know when you've given enough, or know when you might need to change, or slow the gallop down to continue with the horsey analogies. And then after the horse, we get the ram or the sheep. I like saying ram because sheep tends to go into the sheep or the goats. I mean, we got all these little Christian metaphors and stories that tend to give us a wrong impression about something that comes from a whole nother side of the planet. So the ram is not as docile. When we say ram, you're talking about moving, hitting your head headstrong. And so it's important, since this is your opposite year, Jupiter in a 7-year is about looking out for the other guy, investigating, interviewing, being curious about what other people want. And I tend to think that when you're in your opposite year, it's a good year to team up, to partner, to have someone who bears witness, particularly to any new relationships or new situations that are going on for you, sheep, ram, folk, right? And then after that, we have the rooster. Oh, excuse me, the monkey. God, I'm getting ahead of myself. Well, the moon is in Aquarius as I'm recording this. Aquarius sometimes skip steps, they get ahead of themselves in the future. But uh, the monkeys, excuse me, monkey and sheep both go to the partnership corner. And with it being a 6-year service submission, and I don't mean submission as in BDSM, although that's your business too. I mean submission in terms of dropping enough of the ego or negotiating the ego placement in the shared relationship of the soul. What's in our best interest, monkeys, and being able to humor us, but at the same time, don't use the humor to do those passive aggressive things. Use the humor to enlighten, to instruct, and make us feel better. All right. And then monkeys comes the benefactors of the dog. God, I'm skipping again. The rooster. And the rooster is in its affinity, so it's a 5-year. So this is play, fun, enjoyment, self-determination, really getting back and repurposing one's destiny, you roosters. So crow, brag a little bit. We can handle it. And then the dog is a benefactor. This is a year for you that in the Jupiter year represents a 4. So it's about home and hearth and real estate, and really being able to have a place to retreat. I would say, dogs, a general rule of thumb would be, if you're not looking forward to going home, if not, why not? Or if you're having a problem sheltering in place, then figure out how to make your home, Make like a turtle. Make your home wherever you go and move at your own pace and retreat. Go back into your shell if you need to. Bow wows. And then after the dog comes the pig. And pig, this is a 3 year for you. So it's about communication, travel, reading, blogging, being very mentally active. And when we have the three, or anytime Jupiter is working through anything that goes with threes or Gemini, whatever, when you go into that abysmal thinking, because Jupiter is positive and aspirational, but its opposite energy can be pedantic and dogmatic and petty. So when you go that way and you start to lose your largesse, pigs because you're the benefactors, then it's important that you teach or instruct or you write. You get the information out instead of it getting clogged as anxiety in the mental body or intellectual body. And last but certainly not least, this is a rat. The ox is your BFF. So it's important that you use that Jupiter 2 energy to be generous to family and friends and partners and community of time and money and body and all of that. But also know what you have, what you own, and what you're worth, basically. You crafty ass mofos. Rats, I love you. And another, like the snake, we tend to project a pejorative energy onto them, but there's some really clever survivalist uh, animals. So that's just an overview. Remember, you can register through Quan Tracy Cherry or go to Center Spirit and you can do it through Eventbrite that way for next Thursday, February 18th at 6 o'clock on Zoom. And remember to subscribe to Quan Tracy Cherry YouTube channel, as well as our raw materials. That's working with Tavish Cardiff, having a really good time using a natural thought practice. So remember, let's play. All right. Good looking out, guys.